Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Jonathan and I are here for another episode of Survivor 1 through 50, episode 13, all about the Cook Islands, the Aitu Four. So we're going to talk about that storyline. We're going to talk about the twist of dividing the tribes by race and how that was controversial at the time, and all the great characters we have. So yeah, this is going to be exciting, Jonathan, to talk about this one.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. This is personally one of my favorite seasons of Survivor. I think after, I was just saying offline that after All-Stars, I started getting into, I'm watching all these in chronological order. And so I'm progressing through Survivor history. And after All-Stars, I felt like every season was getting better and better and better and better. And I would keep telling my friends, like, oh, I'm on this season or I'm on this season, like the real fans of the show. And eventually I had a friend who was like, what season are you on now? And I was like, well, I was finishing up Panama. And he's like, yeah, that's a really good one. And he's like, oh, you're going to love Cook Islands. Like, Cook Islands is really good. And he's not spoiling anything for me.
Right.
But as we all know, that there are a lot of key players that make their first appearance in the season, like Yule and Ozzy and Penner and Parvati. And it's just, I knew in my heart that, okay, eventually I'm going to run into these seasons. I'm like, okay, this is when like a really big player shows up. I don't know who it is, but I'll know when I see him because I keep hearing about them. And like, for example, Parvati was like that player. Like, oh, she's the one that like people always talk about, that she would become like the OG femme fatale in Survivor history. But like, this was her first season. A lot of these players still had time to grow, but this was like their inaugural experience or their first time playing, which would be able to capitalize later for future seasons. So I have very fond memories of this season. Obviously, when I first sat down and watched it, we're going to divide the tribes by race. I was like, there's no way they'd be able to do that now. No. And I thought that was going to detract from it. But there's so much stuff that happens in the season that I feel like you kind of forget about that eventually. And then you just get involved more with the gameplay, like the super idol being used. Yeah. Like, I got so caught up with Yule and Ozzy's gameplay that I just like was just completely like they're going off. Like I had never seen a season at that point where you had like two superpower players that were just doing huge things the whole time. Like, Ozzy, he's the original Jungle Boy. Yeah. Like this is like they're doing all these things, and I'm like, this is an amazing season. And I love the location a lot too. I thought like the Cook Islands, them being on like just random desert strips. I was like, there's like nothing out here, nothing at all. And Exile Island is brought back, of course. And I was like, this is kind of a beautiful place just to hang out, man. There's no cover when it's raining, but like it seemed like there's literally, out of all the locations, there's literally almost nothing out here except a strip of sand. Yeah. And I was like, where do you even go? Like when it's like nighttime and you get taken off. But all in all, very solid season. I loved it a lot. It's definitely up there for me.
Yeah, I do like this season. I think, like you said, it brings a lot of characters to the forefront, and also like equally important. Yes, like the race twist was controversial. It lost CBS sponsors, or lost the show sponsors with CBS, and like Yeah, it was not great. I mean, they even had like Mad TV was making skits about Cook Islands. Like,
Yeah.
have you checked any of those out?
Yeah,
And yeah,
I haven't seen any of the skits, but I need to now.
Yeah, Jeff Probst was in some of them, and then so I mean, like, it was they're funny, but like they are absolutely making fun of the fact that this was a race divided season.
Oh yeah,
and just like I don't know, like I do think one thing that is good about it is that it gave this cast a very diverse group of people. Like, this is really the first season where we're getting people from really all different walks of life from that diversity standpoint.
Yeah, like it seemed that they were trying to, I think even like this was like in 2006 when it filmed and aired. So I think even like then they were getting like questions about like there's not enough diversity and there's not enough, you know, players of color like playing the game. And so they wanted to obviously address that, but you know, them being like, how are we gonna address it? We're gonna divide them based off of that factor, which was like, what? Like, why not just like cast people like normally and put them on tribes? But no, it seemed like it was a very like open front way of like addressing this issue. But they're like, we wanted you to address it, but not in this way, kind of thing. But it led to some very crazy things in the season, especially like post merge. And there's like what 20 people?
Yeah. So
yeah, the actual like legitimate first time they used 20 people.
Yeah, they actually used, because Palau obviously got rid of Jonathan and Wanda. So like legitimately here they have the format set up that 20 people will actually play. And I mean they did a decent job. I mean, I will say with 20-person seasons, I do think some people will get lost in the edit. And certainly I think some of this cast did. And maybe they just weren't giving anything, but that's kind of my criticism with the season, is the people that don't pop off the screen just don't do much for me. But the half the cast that we do get, maybe a little more than half that pop off, are just great.
There's a lot of characters that just really come to the forefront of your screen that you like recognize. I mean, like there's people on every tribe that you're like, I probably lean more to this person or lean more to this person. Like I obviously like Ozzy was like amazing. I was like, this guy's like good at everything. I liked Yule a lot. And again, I was like, I kind of, when I'm able to successfully pick who I think is going to win a season and they end up winning it, I hold that season a little more like high in regard. So I was like, I really like Yule. I think he's going to do it. And then he ended up doing it and in such a crazy fashion that I was like, oh, that's why I have this season's like probably ranked higher than most people. And every other tribe was good too. I mean, Penner was definitely the guy that you wanted to like. He just couldn't get a friend, like no matter what. It's like he just made every wrong decision possible. But he's kind of like the devil. You keep the devil you know, than the devil you don't, and so that you knew what you were going to get with him that season. And plus, Parvati was doing her thing. You see her make certain moves that wouldn't really come in. That wouldn't be considered big moves until like when she comes back for fans versus favorites kind of thing. Like this was kind of like her getting her gears going and her starting to work her magic, which would come over way later. So you're seeing people kind of like in their beginning phases of their Survivor career kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Ozzy, Yule, Parvati, Penner. I mean, Candice is gonna be the other
Candice,
that comes back. I mean, I will say, like, Candice is a huge part of this season. I just think when she got brought back for the theme of heroes versus villains, you can argue that she didn't really fit that theme.
No, I remember, like, I watched, because it's like, I know we're not talking about heroes versus villains.
Right.
We mentioned, like, later on, like, they were going to put Candice on the villain tribe.
Yes.
And they're going to put Parvati on the hero tribe. And I'm like, that would have made much more sense. In going back and rewatching this and being like, everything Candice did, I was like, that is something a villain would do.
Yes.
It was like, kind of, leading Adam along a little bit, like literally, mutinying and abandoning her tribe, because this episode is called the Aitu Four.
Yes.
For a reason. And when I saw that, I was like, what? I was like, why would you leave? It's like my two favorite guys are on that tribe. Why would you leave my two favorite guys? And Penner, I was like, Penner, you better not do it. You better not do it. Just don't be the one guy. Like, it's like, just, and then he went and did it, and then he got blamed for everything. And to me, that's why I love the season so much, was all those people that left those four and we're going to think they're going to run them over did not happen, and the underdogs took complete control of the game. And I think and they just kept sending Candice to Exile Island, which I loved. As a fan, I loved every minute of that. I was like, yeah. I was like, that's awesome.
It's so funny.
But it was just like, I think that's why I like this season, is because people that get their comeuppance. And it's like the people that you like end up doing fairly well. And they have the moral high ground, if you will, in the game. Yeah. And I think, to me, that's why this season just popped off more, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about more characters as we go, and obviously their moves, and we'll talk about more about the Mutiny later when we get to it. But let's start off going into the premiere of Survivor Cook Islands, where they go back to having the marooning off the boat. I don't know at the time, like I think I've heard things like they kind of initially seemed they wanted this season to feel like kind of like the very beginning of Survivor again, because like it starts off like Borneo, like you're dropping this off, you get the same spiel from Jeff that you had him saying in Borneo, of, like, the exact lines word for word of like these ordinary Americans, and like, so I think that's what they intended with this marooning, it seemed like. And so I think you can definitely see that. And then obviously, so you're going to have Penner, the big moment that Penner steals the chicken from the Puka tribe, from Yule and Cowboy and that tribe. And everybody's like, Yule's like, where's the chicken? And like, Penner just jumps off the boat. Like,
it was just like a good start. And I think I remember like, it did have those vibes of like early Survivor, like the season 1 era. And then like Jeff gives his whole announcement and like, you're probably wondering why everyone's wearing it. It's like, because we separated the tribes by ethnicity. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, well, we're going to go with this. And I felt like I was like, where is this going to go? I'm like, this better lead to somewhere productive, or like it. And it did, thankfully. And I think it was just there was just like nothing out there. Like in the cookout, this is like one of the seasons where there's literally nothing out there except a strip of sand. It looks like it's just a strip of sand. It's in the middle of the ocean too. It's not like they're off the coast of like a continent. It's like they're literally in the middle of the ocean on a random desert island. Like there's just nothing there to do. So I thought it was just a good barren start to Cook Islands. And so it was a good beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get the tribes paddling off. We get to start meeting some of our players. Let's get our intro to Cowboy, because Cowboy is now they're on the raft, the Puka tribe, and he's making Asian jokes, which, you know, I mean, I understand why everybody's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't feel comfortable with this. Like, because you're reinforcing negative stereotypes, possibly. So I totally get where like Yule's coming from and not liking what Cowboy is doing here. But like Cowboy is obviously doing it because he's trying to be funny, and like that's his wild card personality. So I don't know, it is at least funny that like how Cowboy's going about it, like not maliciously. So
it's kind of weird, because if you put like whatever like the theme is of a season, like whether it's like heroes versus villains, or it's a season like this, or it's, you know, David versus Goliath, or it's something like that, I feel like people going in don't know, like once they're labeled with a theme, like it's like this versus that, or this, then they start thinking more about the theme, and maybe they start associating more with the theme. And because this season starts with the whole idea of it's starting with you're on different tribes based off of ethnicity, and you have like Cowboy, like, you know, kind of making casual jokes, but he's just like trying to, you know, like break the ice and lighten the mood, and then that starts getting people to think more about like their position in the season, on about like what it's about, or what it could potentially represent. So he obviously just kind of alienates himself a little bit, but he doesn't. But he owns who he is, though. He owns who he is. He's unapologetic about it, but he's trying to be this guy that's not taking things too seriously, though. But you get to see like other tribes and how they try to handle the stereotype, or how they try to, like, because this only lasts for the first two tribal councils, 2 episodes until they break. So they ditched again. It's like almost like Guatemala where they ditched, Panama, where they ditched the idea really quickly.
Yes.
And move on to let's intermingle everybody and see what happens kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, so and then with Cowboy, we obviously get the bad wind where he's like putting the red dots on like Brad and Jenny's foreheads, and like, oh my god, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I've never tried that method to get rid of a headache before. Obviously, never heard of it until watching Cook Islands. But
didn't it work though? And they're like,
they said they don't have a headache anymore. I really don't
what? Oh wow, okay. Like this is actually like it's like
I don't know.
It's like Cowboy knows something.
Yeah, I've never had that been done to me. I don't really think it works if you try it on yourself, but
you need someone else to do it for you, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe we can ask if we get Cowboy on the show, then we can. Yeah, yeah. Let's get him on the show. Yeah, and then Aitu, we get to see Ozzy being the Jungle Boy. Obviously, we're about to get Ozzy back again on 50. We'll talk about his whole legacy as we go through the entire rest of 1 through 50. But this is the first time we're seeing him immediately. He's like in the Jungle Book, like Mowgli, like climbing up the tree and
working hard. He's building things. He's going out fishing. He's literally I don't know if you would call this like peak Ozzy, but like like young Ozzy is just like he's doing everything. Like he's working hard around camp, and I think that was another appeal, like why I liked his character was he kind of was like, oh man, like if only I know like another what if like if he was on like Heroes versus Villains kind of thing, if he made it on like he's just there's certain characters that like could literally fit in dozens and dozens of different themes of whatever Survivor is, and Ozzy is one of those characters like. Well, he was on Fans versus Favorites. Like, he could have been on Heroes versus Villains. Like, he could have been on David versus Goliath kind of thing. Like, he could have been on any, on any season of that caliber. And he's one of the greatest players to never win kind of thing, too. So it's like he is definitely an S tier player in regards to, and at that time when you first see him, and he's another player that's going on challenge like wins and runs and stuff like that. And he's like you're in the Hall of Fame with like Colby and Tom and Terry of like you're just consistently winning these things. And that's another reason why I like the season so much is you don't see those players a lot. Like they're just absolutely fearless in what they do. Like someone of that caliber being like, I'm totally confident. I know it's not going to be brought up later with him for 23, but he's like, I'm okay with you voting me out to go to Redemption Island, so because I know I'm going to beat you. So he's like, he's that confident in his skill set to be a Jungle Boy and go out there and do all these miraculous things in the wilderness that it was really cool to get that first impression of him in this season.
Yeah, I like Ozzy. I mean, I got to meet Ozzy at Over the Edge this past year, and it was a really cool moment. I do think Cook Islands is peak Ozzy. I think it's him at his best. I like him in South Pacific as well. Yeah. I mean, I do think his worst season is probably Game Changers, and then Micronesia. I mean, he has the big Blindside that happens to him. Yeah. But like this is absolutely peak Ozzy. This is where like he's dominating the challenges. He is well liked enough by everybody.
He's in the finale. Like he's the closest he's gotten to like winning. Survivor Gold, basically.
Yeah. I mean, South Pacific, he was one challenge away from probably sweeping, but
that close. That close. And when your reputation is already kind of like set in Survivor, like when you come into a fresh Survivor season, nobody knows anything about you. You can get away with a lot of like different things. Whereas if you come back for a second time, then there's some history about you. Some people might know what you're capable of. And then this was just the season that like after that, he kind of just cemented his reputation as being like that really tough challenge threat. But but I think he's probably one of the most consistent players to ever play. Like he's not like all over the map. Like he was like, he almost close and then gets voted out immediately. He's just either like up there or he like will go like midway with like Game Changers kind of thing. Like
he's always made the merge.
Yeah, he's always made it. He's always consistent. So
yeah, I think that's a pro for Ozzy. I mean, it's debatable whether he is able to change up his game really, because
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna see later on. I don't think he understands how to change it up, but
Yeah.
you know,
He knows how to beast challenges, provide for everybody, and hold you hostage with fish.
Yes,
And
yes.
then he's like, you better not get in a one-on-one challenge with me because I'm most likely gonna win, unless he runs across someone like Ty, who basically was the person that cracked his secret on how to win those pole challenges, because it's like that's like his bread and butter, are like those pole challenges. Like that's like his,
because he's used to staying up in a tree.
It's to save a tree, and it's like until you come across like like 4'7" Ty who can hang up there, but like he's just a Survivor staple, a Survivor legend. That I know once we get to like how this season changed Survivor, I'm like, well, all these players like they would do it. So he's definitely, it's amazing to see him in his first outing too.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can get to the first immunity challenge, and I'm sure we'll again continue talking about characters as we go here. But this is the one. This is what ends up coming to Heroes versus Villains, is the first challenge where they have to like build the puzzle boat and then paddle it out, get fire, and then build like the compass directions or compass coordinates, and then put them in like with the ladderons. It's a crazy good challenge. I think like it's very creative. And it's something I would like to see this challenge again. Honestly, I think it's a really clever challenge. So, but it ends up being pretty much Aitu and Puka, those tribes, they end up doing really well. I guess Puka ends up getting first, Aitu gets second, and it's Raro or Hiki, and Raro ends up pulling it out. And so Hiki has to send someone to exile. They send Penner for stealing the chicken.
Yeah, and that's where it all starts with Penner being just the devil in Survivor.
Yeah. I really like Jonathan Penner. I think he is one of the best characters in Survivor history, one of the best narrators, because this man can tell a story. He can tell these great confessionals. I mean, his voice is so memorable.
He's a writer. He's basically Mike White before Mike White kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And he's this complex character. Like he does do villainous stuff, but he's also still likable. Like
he does all that. I think it's just because like you know what you're gonna get with him. Like that's the thing. Like he's not like he's going to do these things.
Right.
But he's also seems like he's one of those characters that's like I will pull you aside and have a conversation with you about like So he's not going to be like, he doesn't seem like, I correct me if I'm wrong if he's done this, but like, he doesn't seem like he's going to necessarily whisper sweet nothings to you and do whatever. It's like, that he's going to maybe mutiny. That he's maybe going to go look for an idol. Like, that's what Penner does. Like, that's what he does. He has his hat. He goes out there and he does stuff of that caliber. Like, and then because he could potentially dig himself in these graves, or in these holes that we might not be able to get out of. And then you're like, I'm not really, not opposed, but I'm not, you're like, as a player, I'm not really threatened by him, because you just know that he's out there and that he's just, Penner's just doing Penner things kind of thing. But that is his strength, where you let that go on for too long. Then next thing he's in the top 7 of kind of thing. Like, what you're going to get like with Jonathan Penner.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we'll talk about his smack talk with Jeff Probst later, their rivalry, because they have a great rivalry in Survivor history. So, so I can't wait to get some memorable quotes there. But, so the Hiki tribe is going to go to tribal, and basically Nate and Sekou are basically making the decisions, and like the women are basically going to group up here, and they are going to take out their leader, who is trying to step up as leader, Sekou. So we are going to get Sekou as the first boot here. And so what are your thoughts here on Sekou being the first boot?
Not too much. I remember it specifically being them like, he was just kind of perceived as being lazy. And so it was just a situation where I don't think they had the numbers, and Sekou is just, it's a label that you could put with a first boot where it's like they're just lazy or they're old or it's like someone usually or they don't care as much or someone that falls into one or they care too much or they're super paranoid. It's like whatever the most obvious thing that comes to the surface with a player like that will usually get the boot first. Like there's just something like about that. So I think it was just like, you know, maybe he wasn't like physical enough. Maybe he was just being overbearing and they're like, we have the power to get rid of him now. We'd rather keep Nate kind of thing. So
yeah. Well, they need Nate, like because Nate is the young, strong guy on their tribe.
Yeah.
So Sekou was just like an easy boot for them, and so I had Sekou 50th out of the 57 first boots our ranking. So I had him pretty low. I mean. Part of it is bad luck because they are two guys outnumbered by 3 women, and the women are immediately going to group up together for their advantage.
Yeah.
But he didn't do himself any favors. You never want to step up as a leader. Like, it's going to get you cut pretty quickly.
Yeah, especially if you don't deliver.
Right. And he wasn't delivering.
Either. It's like, that's why Survivor's so hard, is that you just, like, if you're going to step up to the plate, you better deliver or you're going to catch all the flack, unless like you're extremely likable and then people are willing to forgive every mistake that you do to keep you as a number. And if you have that power, then you can literally do no wrong. But in this case, Sekou it was a stereotypical reason on why to put someone out is because they're either overbearing or he was lazy.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go through our top 10 first boots right now. So it is Tina Wesson, Sonia Christopher, Wanda Shirk, Deb Eaton, Diane Ogden, Peter Harking as Holes, Timbertina Shear, John Raymond, Brooke Garati, and Jonathan Libby. That is our top 10. Sekou Bunch ended up as 14th overall. He does not make the top 10. He is just above Jim Lynch from Guatemala. So,
I mean, like, it's like, what can you say?
Yeah, there's not much to say there. I don't know. I guess Sekou is part of the Sekou Bunch.
He is part of the Sekou Bunch. That's his legacy. That's his legacy. Love you, Sekou.
I had to take that joke from RHAP. That was not an original. That was Rob Cesternino and Josh Wigler did that for Evolution of Strategy. But but yes. So that is where we stand with the first boots. Also, Sekou did have like the musical number at the reunion where he's he's like Survivor. I don't know. It's probably more to that song, but
there's probably more to it. We just don't remember it. It's been so long.
Yeah. So all right. Let's keep moving. We have to hit on probably one of the best episodes in Survivor history. And also, if you want more, we're gonna talk about Billy Garcia. If you want more Billy Garcia, by this point, our interview with Billy Garcia is now up. So you should go check out our conversation with Billy on his What If. And Billy is hilarious. We love you, Billy. In more ways than one. But, you know, Billy is one of the greatest pre-mergers of all time. Like, everybody remembers him. He's still heavily involved with the Survivor community. And so very glad we could get Billy on. But let's break this down.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to unpack.
Yes. So this starts at the second immunity challenge. Basically, Ozzy has this idea because Billy's not being productive around camp, supposedly, that they are gonna throw the challenge and get rid of Billy, which is an incredibly risky decision on day 5 or 6 in this game, the second round of the game, and you're already going to throw challenges.
Yeah.
And so Ozzy already is playing the game hard. And so, they basically do end up throwing it. And then
I think Jeff catches like wind of it. Of course he's going to catch wind of like what they're potentially thinking about doing, because the crew's going to run back and tell them like what they're thinking about doing. And so of course I think he has of course Jeff doesn't like quitters at this point, and he doesn't like when people throw challenges. He wants people to give it 100%.
Right.
Like from a strategical reason, that kind of does make sense. Of course it's like a risky move, but at the time it seemed like, not that bad of an idea, but like was just whatever. I'm trying to think with Ozzy, because Ozzy's coming out playing hard, but it doesn't. That seems like a very obvious strategy to do. Is like we're going to throw it to get rid of somebody, and it doesn't. Usually, it could be like a really big strategical threat. But with Billy, it was just like he wasn't working around camp, and it was like we need people here that are going to give 100% kind of thing. And so it was like they did it, and that led to the iconic.
Yes.
The Patrick meme when he's selling chocolate. I love you.
Let's get to it. So Candice and Parvati, we see in the scene that after the challenge, Billy knows that he's basically dead meat now, and he's like, "I'm next." And Parvati, Candice is like, "Oh, we hope not. We love you." And then you get Billy smirking and going, "I love you."
I love you. And I was like, what just happened? I was like, she's like right there. It's not like, it's just like, what? Like, and then I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's a little weird. And then like it builds throughout the rest of the episode where he's just like, I fell in love, Jeff. And it was like, he's like, what? And he's like, yes. What? He's like, you don't even know this girl. And I was just like, it. And I guess that didn't help his case when they were already planning to vote him out by throwing the challenge. And then now all of a sudden, he's lovesick over Candice.
Right.
And they're like, first it was work ethic. Now it's just like, this guy is like, it was.
We don't know what's going on, but.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. Iconic though. Very iconic.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So, I mean, we do also get Christina is trying to switch it up, the cop, and she wants to switch it up on Ozzy, potentially get Cecilia on board. I think she definitely cares for Billy. I mean, Billy talked about it with us as well, that he obviously did want to work with Christina. And so I think also Cecilia, I guess, just wasn't going to budge because she was with JP and Ozzy, but and that's probably why also it didn't work out. Not that Billy did himself any favors here at the tribal, but I definitely think
he seemed like he was just very resigned to the whole situation where he's like, I know it's gonna be me, but I got what I came for, I'm in love. And it was just like, okay,
let's talk. So we have to talk about Jeff Probst's iconic reaction to this. And it's just like, I don't like, it's so good. And Jeff is like, Candice from Raro Tribe.
Because he was probably expecting it to be like somebody like there. Like, what? Like, you mean this girl or they have talked to like nothing about the whole time? But it was just like, that to me helped kind of just make the season a little like more fun, was just like how kind of like goofy it went in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to say also JP being a massive dick at this tribal to Billy, like, dude, like, why are you like bullying poor Billy right here? Like,
and he was not doing himself any favor because eventually that would like
come back to bite JP.
Come back to bite JP. But I think it was very much like a just typical kind of like a bully thing to do. Like, it's just not like, again, this is the season of comeuppance. So a lot of people get their comeuppance, whether it be very quickly after this or a little further on down the line where you can enjoy it a little bit more. Like, it's a long, you gotta let the blind side marinate. You gotta let it come to you naturally with certain players in this season.
Yeah, absolutely. So poor Billy is going to get voted out again. Go check out that What If interview. It is really good. So as you would expect, Billy provides a great time. So goodbye, Billy. So now we're gonna get to the tribe swap, the melting pot, where the tribes are now gonna come together ultimately. And so they do this in an interesting way. So basically, a man and a woman from one man and one woman, or what was it from each tribe, right? So it's
I think so.
Yeah, so it's like it's Brad, Adam, Nate, and is it Yule, or is it?
Let's see.
Or no, sorry, I said Brad. It's Brad, Adam, Nate, and then JP or Ozzy. It would have.
I believe so.
Yeah. So so it's them, and then the women. I think it was Parvati. I'm trying to remember. Christina or Cecilia.
Mhm.
I think it might have been Rebecca or Sundra, and then Jenny.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. So
Yeah.
they end up each picking someone not from their original tribe at first, and
Yeah.
so and then 2 men and 2 women will then combine their tribes together to form the 2 new tribes of 9.
Mhm.
So I thought it was an interesting way to do it. I think that for this
Yeah.
situation, because of the theme and the twist of the 4 tribes and dividing my race, I think this was like a good way to do this swap.
Yeah.
So
Very yeah, because it's like again one of those themes where they just like ditched it real quickly to get on to like we're gonna do like a pre-merge kind of thing where like we're just creating 2 different tribes to get more dynamics with the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. So oh, and we should also mention, now that we've gotten into it, I did want to talk about, obviously Yule does find the super idol.
Oh yeah, because he gets exiled
Yes.
eventually, and it's like that's when the game really kind of like they literally said it was like $1 million like decision that they unintentionally sent him going over there to find the super idol. And this is when I got lost in the sauce with the whole super idol stuff, which like from Panama to here, it was like Guatemala, it was just used as kind of like a gimmick, wasn't that big of a deal. But then for Panama and Cook Islands, it was just an automatic super idol. You could hold people hostage with it the whole game and literally just skip your way to the finale with it if you wanted to. But again though, and I already liked Yule, so him getting it, I was like, I'm totally okay with my favorite player getting all the power in the game.
I did want to say, so I know people criticize Yule's game because he did have a super idol that I think the rules of it were kind of unfair because of the fact that he literally, if he kept it all the way through, which was likely because the super idol's always done that, like this, the person never, that never comes into play ever in Survivor history. And so Yule's able to literally get to the final tribal council. Like, why don't they end it like at 5? The last time you can play it is the last tribal council you can be voted out of the game. I think that is a bit overpowered, or very overpowered.
And I think that's what caused them after this to be like, that was just like too much. Like there's, I mean, like Yule was already doing a lot on his own, like without it. But I think like him having that extra level of insurance with the idol was just like, it was a big deal too. And everybody knew about it too, because he eventually reveals it to people and they're like, well, we can't do anything with them because it's like, in order for us to flush it, someone else has to go home. And so it's like, because then somebody would have to take the fall for him just to flush it, just to get him the next round kind of thing. And I think isn't Cowboy like the first person to like come up with the split the vote?
Yeah, I wanted to get to that soon. Yes, we will get to Cowboy and Plan Voodoo, because that is a huge thing in Survivor history. Cowboy changed this game completely.
I forgot all about that. And when I got to it, I was like, oh, then like he's telling Yule of all people this. And he's like, that's actually not a bad idea. Like, let's get him out of here, kind of thing. But we're trucking along here with the new formed tribes.
Yes. So I did want to say also, so like, Yule and Becky, now that they're on this new tribe. So we saw earlier, like the first couple episodes, they have this relationship, like this brother and sister relationship. This is what helps Yule get, like, Yule and Becky are able to like save each other. Becky's able to be saved here, which is, it's a bit crazy. Like this first post-swap tribal council, these first couple like are a little bit interesting. Because Aitu here is divided. So Candice does get sent to exile and she gets protected. And so basically Yule aligns himself with Penner and obviously is aligned with Becky. So they get Penner on their side. And then they basically have to convince Cowboy and Flicka, like the biggest wild cards in the game, to go against Ozzy and Sundra and Cecilia. So this is, I mean, Cecilia is a pretty insignificant player in the grand scheme of things, but this is, I do find it interesting. This is where, so they blindside her, and this is the first time Ozzy, because it will happen to him again in South Pacific, where he'll lose someone that he's like really connected to, and then he kind of sulks a little bit after. So I do find the parallels really interesting that I mean, Ozzy does get very, very upset when
After
things
this
don't go his
happens.
way. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It kind of
which-
like
yeah.
when something like this happens to him, he has a tendency to pretend like sulk a little bit, but then he'll go on like a warpath like afterwards though. But he'll, in this case, he ends up working later on like with Yule and
Right.
Becky, and so it's like eventually Sundra too. So that will eventually bring them closer together to create the Aitu Four.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, like, you know, we're taking out his old connection, and then they can form a better connection with him too. Especially with Yule and Ozzy being like the two dominant players in the game, and they're both coincidentally would eventually be in the same alliance together too. But that's because of that they're bonded closer together because of the mutiny that would eventually happen too. So
Right.
it's just getting rid of certain players so you could have certain players all to yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, a couple things at Raro. I mean, Christina's annoying the tribe with, I think it's a bit unfair to her. I feel like she gets just kind of billed with the person that doesn't fit in, and then people get pissed off that she's doing things, which is like, that was odd to me. But we do get JP, the king, let the king sit pretty, and Parvati does her flirt game, and this is
her first flirt game.
Yeah, her and Nate, and we can talk about Nate now. I think Nate is an underrated character in Survivor history. He is really funny. And like I think he was a pretty decent player. So I mean, once he gets to this swap tribe and gets like this new ability to get these relationships going with other people, I think Nate's pretty well set up for a while.
Oh, for sure. Like I think that was my thing with like the Raro tribe was like, or the new one, it was like all the young people would eventually kind of get sent over there, or most of the young people, and there was just this kind of like general like, what's up, bro, like attitude. I think that's what really like rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, I just couldn't stand it. But within that crowd, there were players that were, you know, technically doing a good job too. And Parvati's doing her thing with Nate, and she's doing her thing with JP, but JP's just assuming that he's the best thing in the world at the time, and Parvati being like, well, why don't we get like a big player out now that makes sense, and then just we roll from there, kind of thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is Parvati's first blindside that she helps
ever.
So really, really fascinating. And like it's debatable whether Raro should have made this move so soon, but I think like I think it's a fascinating move.
It is.
So
let's see.
But yeah, and then Stephanie goes home because she wants mashed potatoes and gravy is the other thing.
And that just like pissed Nate off because he assumed that like she just was just checking out kind of thing. I don't know if she was checking out or if she was just like, man, I miss food. And then Nate was like, that's it. Like,
I think Nate was looking for any reason to like get out because like I think he was the only one who didn't vote JP out, and so which was interesting. So I think he's just looking for anything to pin it on someone else.
Let me see, because it was literally a unanimous vote because Stephanie would end up voting for Christina. Later on as well, and Christina is already kind of like on the outs.
Right.
I do remember liking her. I remember thinking that she was also getting a raw deal because it was just like, because you mentioned the edit of the season and how like certain players are just like not really getting a fair shake, like they just don't fit in, or there's something about them, and because of that they're labeled something that they're most likely not, kind of thing.
Right.
I'm trying to remember who was the target, because they were going after Stephanie, but there was someone else that they were like the main one, but they just like managed to flip it on Stephanie because it was like, well, she doesn't want to be here.
I think it was Christina. I don't remember anybody else being on the chopping block here at this point. So yeah, and Christina, like her story of being a cop, like we do get a little bit of a storyline with her and her getting shot, and also the fact that I think it's Jenny that literally puts a gunshot on her vote for Christina, which is really bad.
That's actually kind of
it's like why do you need to do that? Like I know you're all of a sudden upset Christina for some petty reason, but do we really need to?
It just seemed like I think that's the thing about the season was it just felt like there was an echelon of like popular kids, and there was like your underdogs, that were like, it was literally the stereotypical, like, what's up, bro? Like, popular, like, that was just that driving me crazy the whole time. And there was like just this lower echelon of underdogs that would eventually rise up. And that's, and that was, to me, when Christina got voted, that was just more ammo for what was about to happen with the mutiny. And it was just making it easier and easier for me to really be like, I hope they get their comeuppance as players, kind of thing. And it was just like, what is going on, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about Plan Voodoo. So I did want to mention with Cowboy, since we're on him now again, his ability to start a fire by waving the husk around and getting like, oh my god, that is wild to me. That Cowboy just knows like this magical way to make fire. My favorite comment is that Nate like is ranting about it after he's like, well, that dude has been building fire since he's like 2. So like,
he's coming up with a reason to dog him a little bit, but I'm like,
so but yes, Plan Voodoo. So Cowboy is this dream, this wild dream that he's telling Yule about, how he like he was buying something with a credit card, and this lady was telling him you can buy 3 of this and 3 of that, and now he's like, now I know how to defeat the immunity idol. And
and he tells Yule, and it's like that dream would go on to influence multiple that just basic strategy on how to deal with an idol would go on to influence every other season involving idols since. And it just came from Cowboy. It's like unintentionally came from Cowboy in a dream. And then, of course, he tells it to Yule, who has the idol at this point. And Yule's like, that's actually like a really good idea. We need to get him out of here because we're all going to tribal council together. So,
it's so funny, like how things like just people wouldn't think that Cowboy's the guy who originated this idea, and now it's so like common, like, for everybody to split the votes on things. I don't know, like it is, and it is wild because I think like Cowboy and Flicka literally helped, like, were like the swing votes, and then all of a sudden, like, they're such wild cards that they're going to be the next 2 boots off this tribe. So
it just seemed kind of like maybe they're voting them for just pure oddball behavior. But Cowboy was clearly like starting. He went from just being a wild card to like, this guy is having like dreams on how to win the game, and and it makes total sense. And it's like, we actually need to legitimately get rid of him, kind of thing too. And so that would send them to tribal council, I believe, first.
Yes, the double,
Cowboy off, and then the next tribe coming in. And I remember, like, I forgot about this, like how this was also controversial, where it's like, because they lost, they didn't just have to vote 1 person out; they had to vote 2 people out. And it was like, open the little bottle when you get to tribal.
So the bottle twist is in a couple episodes. This is the one where they have to eat lamb chops in front. So we've seen this Palau. They had it like Kror got to eat like beef stew in front of the Ulan tribe. And then here, that's like lamb chops. We're gonna see this with like hot dogs and heroes versus villains as well. But so this is where Nate is going to get kidnapped to go to their tribe. So this is interesting because they want to prevent Nate from competing in the next challenge. So I mean, that's a little bit interesting, but I mean, I think that's everything really that I wanted to talk about leading up to the mutiny. So
that's what I was saying earlier, was like there was a lot of stuff that was happening, but it would kind of like really happen later. And it kind of does start with the mutiny. The mutiny is kind of like the big thing that defines certain players' performances in this season. Like this is a big moment that seals the fate with certain players, and it's a big moment too. It's literally a mutiny. It's literally a mutiny.
It's insane. So we had a mutiny offer in Thailand that nobody took, and so nobody remembers that Thailand started it. Apparently there was a missing one that wasn't shown in Pearl Island, supposedly, but Andrew Savage shut it down, so it didn't happen. And so here, this is really technically the 3rd time an offer is made, I believe. And Penner and Candice, like, going back to join Parvati and Adam.
And when it happened, and when Candice stepped forward, I was like, I'm not even surprised. At this point in the season, I'm like, Candice, I'm not even surprised that you would do this, because it's like, she said, I want to go, like, I want to go be with, at the time, it was like, I want to go be with Adam. And then Adam's like, what's up, dude? Like, just like, God, like, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then Penner, I'm like, Penner, come on, man. Don't be that one dude that, like, just follows it. Because it seemed like Candice, like, benefited more.
Mhm.
It's like you have two players. One person that actually benefits from the mutiny, and one person that gets just attacked and dogged for publicly doing it, which ends up being Penner. Like, this ends up kind of creating his character with, like, the guy that you can't trust, but you kind of need him, but you kind of know where you stand with them. And I remember, like, he was kind of like, from that point on in the game, he said that he was, if I do this, I'm a rat bastard. If I do this, I'm a rat bastard. It's like, it doesn't, like, I'm stuck. There's literally nothing I can do. Like, I do this, people are going to hate me. I do this, people are going to hate me. And that's where I think we get his beginnings, or we get this is where his character comes alive. I think what people are, what he is known for later on in the series, in the show, is just that kind of, stuck between a rock and a hard place kind of thing. And he just, and he learns how to live there for his entire Survivor tenure.
Yeah, he really does, because I mean, he's always making these decisions that really torpedo his game. Like this mutiny offer, he takes it, and then we'll get to Philippines much later in the 1 through 50 series, where he turns down a Final Four offer that costs him the game. So, like, Penner is a smart guy. I just think he just makes split-second decisions that do not work out for him.
Exactly.
But so they mutiny, and then the Aitu Four are born, and this is a big thing because it's also 4 people of color, so 4 minorities, and the fact that they're all bonded together because of that and because of this mutiny thing happening. Like, this is a great thing in just like TV history to see these underdogs that are all, I mean,
they're literally
many words.
They're literally and figuratively a minority.
Yes.
In this. And that's why I was like, Penner, don't be that guy that does it. And then he just does it. And I was like, dude, like, okay. Now I'm like, and I had already liked Yule and Ozzy a lot. And then have them, that core 4 that just like, they're all got their arms around each other and like, well, we know that it's literally going to be us. And everyone else over there is like, like, just like laughing. And I'm like, and it was just so sweet. The rest of the season, just seeing them like lose, and then everybody else get like, they're winning, and seeing my favorite players win, it was like a true underdog story.
Yeah, to go from being down 4-8 now and beating all 8 of them. Yeah, it's insane. So I did want to say with Sundra and Becky, like, I feel like they just get the short end of the stick. Like, I don't think they're not great TV, and like, no offense to them, but I can see why Becky, like, because her and Yule are so bonded.
Yeah.
Sundra obviously benefits. Ozzy benefits too, because really Ozzy was also on the outs. So like, it really does bond them all together. But it's just kind of like Sundra and Becky just don't get really anything. And obviously they're going to both have the funny moment at the end of the season.
And everyone being like, we all know it's like, well, like, their fire making challenge. But like, but that 4 at that time, like, that's all they needed in their alliance. It was like you had Ozzy, the challenge beast, and you had Yule, the strategical mastermind kind of thing. And I know later on Yule would be like, no, like, Becky was helping me make decisions. And I remember when he said that, like, everyone on the jury was like, oh, hell no, Yule. Like, it was all you. We all know that you were the one doing all that too. Like, and him with his idol too really made it pop more. But again, I think this was just kind of like a case of potentially a bad edit on Becky and Sundra's part too, but because they sort of knew their role. Like, they weren't like, they knew they had a guaranteed spot in the Final Four if they just stuck with that, and they did. And then it was just kind of like, when they got to the Final Four, I think Sundra knew like that, like, if we don't get rid of Ozzy, then he's gonna stay, and Yule has his idol. We can't do anything about that. And then I know Yule and Becky are close, so that means I'm probably going to go at 4th, and you would eventually, it's, the season became a little bit more defined once they started getting traction as a tribe, and they started knocking everybody out, and they started actually evening the odds a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. We do also get this big moment of Jeff and Jonathan Penner's rivalry at the Cannonball Challenge. Penner keeps dropping cannonballs randomly instead of like lining it up like Yule's doing.
Yeah.
Like Yule has the bright idea to like open up the cannonball like hole and like looking through that instead of like lining it up with like the glass like you're supposed to. So it's like, finding the loophole that you can make it work.
Yeah.
And so Penner just drops one down and Jeff is like, Penner wastes another cannonball. And Jonathan is like, oh, please, Jeff. And Jeff is like, Jonathan getting frustrated by me.
That's just a moment like as a player, if you get like maybe like frazzled easily, or if you get kind of like if you're like not having a good like showing in like a competition, you just have like Jeff in the background, like, and Jake drops another one. It's just like really, it's like you eventually start hearing more people go like, thanks, Jeff. It's like you're just hearing like little quips go off in the background and just hearing their rivalry. It grows through this, and they'll come back together again later in Fans versus Favorites, and then they'll come back together again in Philippines. So it's just it's a beautiful relationship they have together.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think Penner is the originator of talking shit back to Jeff.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I don't remember anybody in the first 12 seasons that does it like him. And
yeah,
I can't wait for some more back talk as we get to Micronesia and Philippines, because there's some really great Penner lines. So Penner ends up surviving because Raro does keep going to tribal. They take out Brad because he's like basically telling them he's like a lone wolf, right? Or free agent.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
He kind of like self-sabotaged his game for like no reason. It's like he would have been fine if he had just like stayed the course. But maybe there was a part of him that was like checking out, or he thought that he actually didn't have any pull left in the game for some reason.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, like, Brad, come on. We can talk
Brad,
about that.
Let us know.
Brad. Yeah.
I do think he might have been close with Yule. And Becky, because I think on that side, I feel like it was honestly like Jenny was just like there and probably would have been next after Cowboy. But it definitely seems that way. But Brad was not going to be the other one to mutiny, because that wouldn't have worked out either. So I don't know. But Brad does go. The big moment here is that he's the first member of the jury. We have not merged yet, and jury has started at 12 instead of 9. So what's happening here? Like
everyone's wondering, like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
And all would be revealed at the next 2, which I think was another. I forgot about this. Is the thing I was talking about earlier. The bottle twist, and I remember it being like, oh, you're going to send someone home. Oh, great. Now open the bottle. And after you voted out, like, we're going to send another one home. And Jeff's like, I'm like, that's an amazing twist. It's like, wow. Like, I am like, that's like, I'm being sarcastic. That was not an amazing twist. That was like awful at the time. I was like, what? Like, if you just,
Yeah, let's talk about that. So the controversy around the bottle twist is that they had this twist in place that Raro would lose, and then they would do the 2 people voted off to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
But the controversy is, if Aitu had lost, would they still have done vote 2 people out? And I've heard people say, like, the theory is that they would have done something different for Aitu because they didn't want Aitu to go down to 2 if they lost and have like less of a chance of making this incredible story happen.
Yeah, they probably would have just gotten a random bottle that said, you're going to vote one person out. I'm like, gee, thanks, Jeff. Like, you could have just told us that. But no, it was like, them doing the double vote and them having 20 people this season.
Right.
And actually using 20 people, not like you have 20 and you get rid of 2 and you start with 18. It's like, no, actually starting with 20 and them trying to figure out how to do that. Because it's like, they're like, oh, when should we start the merge? When should we not start the merge? And I don't think this would really fully come into like effect correctly, probably until like heroes versus villains, I think. Yeah. And so, but this is like, how do we use 20 people? Like, oh, no, when do we start the merge?
Right. I would say, I think Micronesia, they were starting to figure it out.
Yeah.
But, they had the medevacs and quits. So it was like, I'll just say medevacs because it was what Kathy, James, and Penner, like, but and Kathy was like a mental medevac, mental health. But You know, I think and then I think Samoa as well. I think they had kind of figured it out a bit more, but you also had medevacs there. So I mean, I guess I would say yes, they pretty much perfected it by heroes versus villains because you didn't actually have a medevac there.
Yeah.
So but I mean, James got injured and got out, but wasn't medevaced. So
at that point too. So at this point, Raro goes and they vote Rebecca out.
Yeah.
And then they open the bottle and it's like great. Yeah, and Jenny is just pissed at this point because it's like you think it's gonna be like maybe we merge. It's like, nope, you're going. And it's like, oh my God. Like, okay, so
so for Jenny, like, I feel like she probably was very screwed here because it probably should have been a merge, and then you just do like, because when we get to like heroes versus villains, you do, and there is an episode where like it is a double boot episode, but it's like within the span of 3 days you're booting 2 people. So Jenny should have had time. They probably should have honestly just done that double like they did in heroes versus villains. Well, we haven't gotten there yet, obviously, but like they should have thought of that then as a twist. But I don't know. I did want to say, like, with the pre-merge jury, we're obviously going to have it in Fiji. Heroes versus villains as well, we're going to have it. I do think the jury should start at merge. Now, I'm okay with it for heroes versus villains because that one, like, that makes sense.
It's super season. Like, you pull all the stops for it.
Right. I'm okay with it then. For Fiji and Cook Islands here, like, I do find it very, very odd to do like 2 or 3 pre-merge jurors. I just think it's a weird decision.
Like, the theme didn't fit with what they wanted to do using jury members this season too. And obviously if they didn't do it, it could have affected the vote. Like if they took, you know, like Brad, Rebecca, and Jenny out and they just started the jury with Nate, maybe that could have swung things in Ozzy's favor more. I would have to look at the voting schedule. That's
an interesting what if the jury still starts at 9 and we have a final 2, and let's just say, I mean, Ozzy probably wins and takes like Becky to the end, but like over Yule, because I at that point I can't see Ozzy losing a challenge.
Oh no, like, and if he did like magically lose, he's gone,
right?
Obviously, and Becky, either one of them would have taken Becky.
Yeah,
I think, unless it was like a very extreme circumstance where it was like one of them won immunity and the other one like played their idol and they were just both automatically safe going into it. Right. So I would have to look it up again. But yeah, again, that could be a very much like, because it would have been Nate, Candice, Penner, Parvati, Adam, Sundra, and then maybe Becky if she ended up there, but who knows? That's for the what if channel.
That is a what if. Shane and I can definitely think about that because I think that's an interesting one to pose. And actually, if it's Ozzy versus Yule, how does that affect that vote in a final 2 situation? If that's
I've got a feeling it's still going to be very, very close, like they did with the original.
But I don't know. So it's interesting. All right. So let's get to the post-merge now. So we do merge them at 9. This is the latest. It's tied with the latest merge because I think All Stars also had 9 episodes pre-merge. So this is tied with that. But we get Aitu Tonga, another combined merge tribe name, which I do not like. So
I don't like it. I wasn't gonna bring it up because even I didn't like it, and I wasn't gonna be like, Jake, what do you think of the merge? The official merge? Like, nah, I'm like, I'm not feeling it, Mr. Krabs.
No,
I'm not feeling it.
I mean, we'll get some really good merge tribe names for like a few seasons now coming up. So I'm at least gonna be happy about that when we talk about those.
Yeah. Because we now get to this point, though. It's like where Raro is losing. I mean, they lost Brad, they lost Rebecca, they lost Jenny.
It's 5-4 now.
So now we're going into the merge, and is it 5-4? It is 5-4.
Yes, it's 5-4 because this is where Yule is going to convince Penner to flip. And I did want to bring this up because we talked about it earlier with people say like the super idol. This is why the only reason why Yule won. you will utilize this, even if it was a normal idol. I
Yeah.
really kind of feel like you will could have. I mean, I guess it would have been different circumstances because like Penner's scared that like, okay, this super idol's gonna come out and then it's gonna get bounced back on me, and in that situation you will doesn't have to like play it before the votes are read or whatever.
Yeah. It's kind of almost a perfect position because it's 5-4.
Yeah.
And obviously, let me look at the list again. Obviously, Yule, Ozzy, Becky, and Sundra are all sticking together.
Yeah.
And at this point, Nate, Candice, Parvati, and Adam, they all kind of are cut from the same cloth, I think, personally, like personality-wise. So they're all sticking together. And Penner is literally like, he was actually exiled in this game, but he is like literally a walking exile. Like, it's like nobody wants to, like, it's clearly stated multiple times that they're like, we don't trust you, yada yada yada, same old, but you're in the majority over here, and and he's already flipped one time, and then the fact that you'll utilize that idol or as a show of force on him because they have a previous relationship in the game,
right,
and like that you're in a hole right now, and it's like, and I know I know that I know it's what because they had that talk on the beach, where it's like that was the moment. I think that was the moment when Yule showed Penner the idol, and he's like, I know you're basically a dead man walking kind of thing, and you know it, and I know it, and you need a way that benefits you, because if you go with the people that you're going with, they're going to get rid of you so fast. Like, it's like, would you rather be, potentially fifth with us, or would you rather go and be just like the first person voted out at the merge kind of thing? So I think utilizing that strategy on someone like Penner, who is in a rock and a hard place, between a rock. He's literally like, this is where his rat bastard quote comes out, where he's like, if I go with them, I'm a rat bastard. If I go with them, I'm a rat bastard. Like, he just does it. He's like, I'm screwed. And so it's like, I mean, and at this point, he's already, I think he was really kind of like, he didn't want to be like, oh crap, I blew up my perception for flipping, and I'm a guy that flips, right? Like, he's the villain. But now he's just doubling down on like that. I have nowhere to hide anymore. Like, the spotlight is brightest on him in this, and he's like, I'm gonna flip again because I already did it. Like, ooh, Penner flips, shocker, kind of thing. It ended up being one of those things, and that was the downfall of the remaining Raro tribe.
Yeah, it's a fantastic twist, as Penner says.
Very fantastic twist.
I can't do his voice, but
yeah, God, I can't even do it.
You're closer than I would be. So.
Well, I just vividly remember the rat bastard things. Like, go with them. I'm a rat bastard. That was like, I remember him like it. That was just. I thought that was really funny at the time. So
it's a good line too.
He's a good speaker too. So he knows he's not like someone that's in this position that's worried about his perception. That's all. That's long gone at this point. Like, I think it's just. He's someone that like, my perception of is so out the window. I'm a flipper. I'm a fraud. I'm like, I'm just going with it at this point. But he can speak really well, and he's not afraid of confrontation, kind of, because he knows it's coming. He knows it's coming his way at some point. Even with Jeff, he knows I'm going to have banter with Jeff. Like, it's coming at some point. So yeah, he's just in this position now where he decides to, stick with them for at least the next couple votes. So
yeah. So ultimately Nate is going to get blindsided in a 5-4 vote. Yule doesn't have to play the super idol after all. And they aren't listening to Penner, to be honest. Again, if you're just going to discount like the guy that is the swing vote, like, I feel like that's bad on them. So it's a little bit surprising, like Parvati on her first time, that this is obviously the fatal error in her game this first time. And all of them is not utilizing Penner very well.
Yeah, I think they were just like, that's a good point, because they all just like stuck together. And again, it literally led to that key moment with like Yule just talking to Penner on the beach and showing him the idol and being like, look, you are better off coming with us than you are with them, because it's like, once we're all gone, you're gone, and at least with us, you have potential to make it a little bit further. And he's like, okay. And then, I mean, at least for the first two votes of the merge, because Nate would go, and then that would lead us into the next one,
Yeah. So we lose Nate, and so we're gonna get to the final 8 now, and basically Parvati, Candice, and Adam are all very pissed off at Penner, to the point where they're just lobbing like personal attacks on Penner. Like it's a little bit. I mean, like not like super bad, but like they are basically,
Don't they mess with his hat?
Yeah.
Oh, is that different? Okay.
The hat, I know he like leaves his hat. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, he's like, I expect someone to give me my hat back when this is over. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, like that's it. But yeah, like they kind of attack him, and it's like, I get it. It's not fun being on the wrong side of the numbers, but I didn't care. I was having the time of my life watching Raro like systematically get like
knocked down.
Would knock down the whole time, because it just seemed like their priorities were kind of like different, but they're, I mean, like Candice and Adam are off in the woods smooching, and I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, give it a break. I'm like, I'm so tired. I was like, I do not, and it's like, I'm like, you're not helping your case here, and I'm like, show me the other people. I was like, I want to get to see what other people's like, they're doing with their games kind of thing, and it just made it that much more just crazier to watch as the rest of this progressed. But obviously Penner's getting the flack he's always getting the flack. When in doubt, blame Penner. And it's like, literally, I mean, this is exactly why he flipped on you guys, is because you did this shit. And
exactly. So yeah, we are gonna get at this, we do get the auction. Candice gets sent to exile again as more payback.
Yeah, I was like, that was okay. Yeah, that was
and then Yule can end the suspense and show everybody the idol. So at this point, I think this is a good move. Again, I think like Yule gets called like the Godfather a couple times in like these episodes, and like basically, I mean, Yule really is like, he's socially politicking very well. And, like, again, it's not just the super idol, it's the fact like he's utilizing it. He's doing everything he can to basically politic his position and like assert like control, but not in like it's not like the same level as like a Boston Rob or like a Tom Westman.
I think it's funny because it's like that they're all three of those guys that you mentioned. I don't think any one of those guys are, dare I say, better than the other. I think they're all just different. Like they all do the same thing, but they all do it like differently. Whereas Boston Rob will be, I don't know if would you say like he does more of like an aggressive kind of standpoint with it, and then Tom's more of like I'm gonna talk Ian off a pole kind of thing, and be like, if you don't do it, we're not friends anymore. Kind of, and I'm going to make like the stern, like, the father figure kind of being like disappointed in his child kind of thing. And then Yule comes in and he's like a numbers guy, he's very just like, he knows how to do it kind of thing. And I think he's also a physical threat too behind Ozzy, but it was just, he had a lot going for him too in the season.
Yeah. Yule is jacked. Like, let's just mention that.
Yule is very jacked. I remember when we got to this point, I think it was one of these challenges in like post merge, they're doing where they're running into the surf, and I think it's where they have to climb the thing, that they jump and hit the object and create the key. Where I just remember seeing Ozzy like run through, and I was like, okay, like, Ozzy's like looking cool, and I'm like, it's like he's the beast, like no one can catch up with this guy. And I see Yule running there, I'm like, Yule's jacked, and I'm like, Yule could come in here and like do something, and I'm like, wow, like this is a really good season. And I think those two really kind of steered the ship when it came to physical dominance and social dominance as well.
Right. So, and then we do get Penner being obnoxious at the auction, and Ozzy saying his favorite meme or his favorite reference, 420. So, so that happens. As we've heard now, confirmed by players, and I know from Over the Edge, Ozzy likes his weed.
Oh yeah, I think it's I think he liked his weed back then, and I think he likes his weed now. So
yes, yep. All right, so then basically we are gonna get through to Candice getting voted out. Adam wins his is the only other one to win individual immunity besides Ozzy. So
does he win one or two?
Adam wins one. This is the one, and then
where he didn't need to win it, and it was like,
well, I think it was him or Candice going, and I think like I think at first, well, I mean, Candice might have still gone, honestly, just because they were more pissed off at Candice.
They were more mad at her. Like that was like with her getting voted out, that was more of like a slow death.
Yeah.
Then like we're mad at you. We're gonna vote you out immediately. No, it was like you mutinied, and then everything went wrong after that. And it was like, and you're gonna see like you're gonna have to go to more tribal councils. You're gonna have to vote people out of your tribe. You're gonna get sent to exile every single chance that we get, and then we're eventually going to vote you individually out as well too.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like it's clear as we go through these last few episodes. Like Adam, I guess they don't see him as like this massive physical threat. I think because they also sent him to exile as well, especially after Candice goes. So like he's already weakened. So they're just like, okay, we'll just let him suffer at this point.
Yeah, like they even make it. Even I think Jeff makes a comment about that at the reunion, I believe, where he was like, "Well, Adam, like technically on paper, you would seem like you're going to be like this physical threat in the game," and he kind of just didn't live up to that potential, I guess, because I mean his edit was more focused on him kind of like tripping over Candice the whole time, and it was like, oh man, and then it was like, and then that nobody wants a repeat of like Boston Rob and Amber kind of thing. So at that point, like if you are even remotely seen as a couple, you're gonna get targeted, and then it just progressed the way that it did, and Candice officially gets voted out, and then she has a long goodbye.
Yes, if it was love, he'd have given you the immunity necklace.
Yeah, I that was a really good line.
That was a great Jeff line. He has like we've been saying, he's had some great lines in this season already.
And good reactions too.
Yes, good.
Like, what? I was like, okay.
This is the Jeff. I like the Jeff reactions. I love. Obviously, as we go through, we can chart the very goofy ones that don't work, but like at this point, I really feel like we can chart that because I don't think we really charted Jeff's like what he's done at Rivals and how like his questions and whatnot as much. So I think we can really start charting this.
Because I think, well, actually, I'm trying to remember if he actually freaked out more. No, there's actually some big ones like going into. I mean, he was kind of started with Vanuatu a little bit, where he's like just like Chris, and he's like he's holding up my girlfriend, and then like we get into like Palau, and then he's like, you guys are losing every single challenge,
right?
We get into Guatemala, and Jamie's being like Blindside, nice, and it's like just Panama, Shane, it's just we're getting more bombastic characters like making.
Yeah, the characters themselves, but Jeff, I feel like you said, he does have the like stuff in Vanuatu and Palau himself, but I feel like this is where like the big Jeff reactions really start.
Oh, he's like, what? He's like, what is happening? He's like, Jeff, you understand? I'm in love. And he's like, what? He's like, what are you talking about?
I love Jeff here. All right. So, and it is funny on rewatch, knowing once you watch Candice's entire Survivor journey and how John Cody must feel after watching this, her actual husband.
Oh no, I mean, he won out. It's like, again, like Candice, love you. I know it's just a game, no, just a player. But at the time, though, I was like, this girl is just driving me crazy, and so I like, and especially at the reunion too, and everyone's like, ooh, are like you and Adam like a thing? And then Adam's like, you can see his facial reaction. He's like happy, like there's help, and then Candice is like, nah, I'm good. Or she doesn't do that, but she's like, no, it's just this is an aisle. She kind of like dismisses it. And it's like, no, there's just like we're just friends. And then it cuts back to Adam, and he's like all sad and stuff. And I was like,
heartbreaker. He like broke Billy's heart. She broke Adam's heart.
He was literally heartbroken on like live TV, and I was like, damn, like, and then that kind of carried, and then again we see her again in Heroes versus Villains, and I'm like, that did not like. Again, it was like, it's cool. It is cool seeing her character, like the role that she fills in these certain seasons, and obviously she comes back for Blood versus Water and stuff like that. And
yells at Brad Culpepper,
and I'm like, it's like, F you, Brad Culpepper, and I was just like, what did I do? Okay, we'll get to that. Like,
we'll get to that much later. We'll save that
literally much later. But it's just, it was a time to watch that, and casual viewer, I was like, yeah, like when she got voted out. But then again, love you, Candice. Sorry.
Yeah, come on the show.
Come on the show. Love you.
But yeah, so, and I did want to mention Penner's line from this episode when him and Candice are arguing. That's bollocks, and you know.
Oh yeah, because I think it wasn't like she was calling him out on
for eating the food. It was like they were eating
something.
yeah, like because the five of them, the Aitu Four and Penner, were eating like the fish that Ozzy caught and without the raros. So
Yeah. So I'm like, just desserts?
yeah,
It's like it happened. It happened. But that led to eventually after that tribal council, you know,
yes,
the rest of the like Parvati and Adam know that they're going to go at some point, and so they basically doesn't Adam make a plea to Yule?
yes. So
hey,
this is
like I will give you my vote.
Yes,
to win the game if you vote Penner out next.
Yeah, so Adam makes this deal. I believe it's vote Penner out next, and I think he then also sweetens it for himself by being like, make me the last one left, and I will give you my vote, because I believe he does that after with Parvati. But so yes, this is a big moment because obviously Yule, again, social politicking, this is what Yule does great, is he's not just like, oh no, I'm gonna do what I want and it doesn't matter. Like he understands how to manage his jury, like, and how to satisfy them so that he will get their vote at the end.
Yeah.
So this is a great play by Yule. I like, obviously we're gonna lose Penner here 2 episodes before the end. But he wasn't gonna be too much longer for the game at this point.
Yeah.
So
because he goes out at the final 7. Doesn't he go out at the final 7 again in Philippines?
Yes, Phil. So he goes up 7th twice. It's his highest placement, and then obviously Micronesia, he's medevaced.
So
pre-merge.
So for the most part, he's a very even keel survivor player. Like he's probably like one of the most consistent that you'll see. Like he's made the merge right all 3 times.
Micronesia he didn't, but
I keep forgetting about that. Him getting medically backed, but yeah, him being like being the Mike White before the Mike White kind of thing, and like him being that character that does villainous things, but you can like understand his reasoning, but he has like more of a heart than some other people, and he's just like the guy that makes like the wrong decision, but like owns it. He owns the wrong decisions that he makes. He's not someone that's gonna shy away from like, ooh, like I'm not gonna. He's like, yeah, I did that. Like, he's like, well, I've made myself look like a fool in front of everybody, but I'm going to own it and try to like get out of it kind of thing. And I think that's very impressive and just very commendable, I guess, as a survivor player for someone like Penner. And it's crazy that he didn't get chosen to come back for 50. I remember his name came up a lot.
His name was out there a lot. I mean, it was really him or Ozzy for Cook Islands. Everybody was like 100%. It's one of the 2 of them. I would have. We can talk about Penner's survivor legacy by the end. Obviously, we'll talk more about Ozzy's as we go. But I love Jonathan Penner. I think he's one of the best survivor characters of all time.
Yeah.
And so we also get the sweet moment between him and his wife Stacy. Obviously, she unfortunately passed away from ALS a few years ago. And
I remember that. Yeah, I remember.
It's the Winners of War storyline with Yule.
I remember getting to that in Winners at War, and you'll bring that up, and I was like, whoa, like it really is kind of like one big story that's being told in Survivor. That's like you can start at different points, but I think it really has a lot of power if you start from the beginning and you just watch it chronologically. And then like I was like in 2006 mindset watching this, so it was like progressing forward, and to see it kind of come forward with him as a character, I was like, it was really cool to watch, I think. Yeah. Especially with people's first outings in Survivor, just in general.
Absolutely, yep. And then Penner asks for, can I have my hat back, please?
Yeah, can I have my hat? Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to get another Yule politicking moment next episode, but yeah, I mean, let's get to it. The only other moment I think I want to talk about from that before that is Parvati in the hot tub with Yule and Ozzy. It's like her big moment. She gets like the clip shown in Micronesia when like they're having their favorites come out. So, I mean, this is her big thing of like, again, being the flirt and like trying to, you know, romance Yule and Ozzy to get them to keep her in the game.
Yeah.
You know, she tries to be fair, and so like, you know, it doesn't work, but
she tries, and it worked a little bit, like in the beginning, with like, you know, with Nate and JP kind of thing.
yes,
But like she was using those charms, I think, like on the wrong two people. Was kind of because Yule, it just seemed like he's not gonna like, you know,
Yule's not gonna do it.
Yule's not gonna fall for that kind of thing, and I don't think, and I think Ozzy just was already like not going for that because he was already in a good deal with Yule and everybody else, and they all knew to like Parvati's, you know, doing stuff. But it's not until literally Dancer's Favorites that strategy ends up being a lot more of a big deal too.
Yeah, I think Ozzy's also extremely loyal. Like that's why it doesn't work on him, is that he's so loyal to his tribe. I mean, obviously he's literally calling out Penner and Candice. The mutineers are always the first people to die. So like,
he's literally making claims like that, and it was easier for them to be like, I mean, it makes a lot more sense like when you're looking at characters like Ozzy and Yule, and they could definitely be heroes. Like they were considered for heroes versus villains kind of thing. And Parvati could be, she's a villain, like her femme fatale does, her strategy didn't come through as much during this season, but obviously it would come through in like future ones too. So it just seemed, you know, it's like try that strategy again, but under different circumstances kind of thing and see what happens.
Yeah, I see her being a villain making complete sense though. I mean, I know she was supposed to be on the heroes, but I do think like her being a villain in my green show makes sense. Obviously they're also trying to split up that alliance.
After
so,
that,
like, and supposedly Natalie, I mean, it's confirmed Natalie Bolton was on location as an alternate for Heroes versus Villains, but that's something for later when we get there. We can talk about that more.
You'll have good what ifs for that season.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. All right. So, Parvati is gonna go. So now we are going to hit our finale. We do get, I did want to call this out because it's funny. This is the challenge at Final 5 that Ozzy ends up getting beat by Sophie in South Pacific that loses him that game. And he does win it here, but he can't win it. I mean, obviously different puzzles, but like, he can't win it the second time. So, but this one was a little surprising that Yule didn't win it because I definitely thought like Yule would have figured out how to solve the puzzle, but like again, Ozzy is just an all-around beast. So
and this is when I don't know what number he was at immunity challenge wise. Do you remember
this was his fourth?
His fourth one. Was this the last one where he tied it with or he kind of became like he's now considered like in that Challenge Beast Hall of Fame with like the Colbys and the Mikes and the Terrys kind of thing. So he's in that like echelon of player at that point.
Right. Well, so they had 5. So he got his 5th on the last one.
But the last one. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So but yeah, so he wins this. Adam's basically a dead man, tries to get Yule's idol flush, but it isn't going to work. And the Aitu Four are the final 4. I mean, this is a great moment for storytelling purposes. So like, I know like on rewatches, people might be like, oh, it's boring or whatever. I don't see that. Obviously I just think the storytelling is so well done. And like, if like it is predictable, but like on rewatches, but it's so well done. So
that's a good way of putting it. And I think that's why I didn't have really any. This is the first season that I got to, like, after we've been doing this for a while now. This is the first one I got to. I feel like I didn't really need to write too many notes on it. I basically wrote no notes because I was just like, I don't feel like there's that much to say, but there's not that much to say, but there's a lot to bring up when it comes to like introduction of characters and certain big moments of gameplay. And I think that's the big takeaway from this season was the introduction of certain characters that would come in later. I think when it comes to Cook Islands, still a good season though.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to our final challenge, and it's like you're on a shrinking platform post, and like
Yep.
it goes down to like the size of an envelope stamp or something
Yeah.
at one point. Like Ozzy does survive and stay up there, so he wins immunity. Yule's idol lasts him through to get him to final tribal, which again, very overpowered, but Yule has done so well to get to this point that you know, with his strategy and social politicking. And so it's Sundra or Becky. Ozzy's like, let's do a fire making challenge so they can both like prove themselves. And I do think this is a good move by Ozzy to not just be like, oh, okay,
Pick
so
one person,
just be like, oh, Sundra, sorry, you're out. I think him doing this, I think it earns him Sundra's vote, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. I think the whole event was crazy too, because when we got to that, I knew in the series they're going to do final threes at some point. And then when I finally got to this and Jeff makes the announcement towards them, they're like, oh, it's a final three now. Yeah. So that changed the whole, like, probably their way of thinking, because I'm sure in Yule's head, he was thinking like he would probably want to take Becky.
He would have,
It's like if he got a chance to get rid of, like, if it was going to be a final two and Ozzy won, then they would definitely vote out Sundra.
Yes.
And they get to a final three. And if Ozzy basically wins that, then that would put Yule in. If he still is able to play his idol to go to the final three, then it would just be Ozzy and Yule, which would still be a legendary final tribal regardless. But then I think Yule's plan would be to take Becky if it was just a final two. And then I think Ozzy was he's very lone wolfish this season. He's in Alliance, but he's kind of like the lone wolf in the Alliance. He'll go with anybody kind of thing at the end.
Yeah.
In this moment though, because he wins it and they go, and it's we're doing a final three, and we get to the final tribal council, and it's going to be, like you were saying, it's going to be between, Sundra and Becky doing a very, very long fire making challenge. And you're talking about season of reactions. This is definitely a season of reactions, like you were talking. People being like,
people are falling asleep. Jeff's falling asleep. Jeff is so disappointed that he.
I literally
matches.
Laughed out loud when I was watching the recap, and it was like, just they're showing. I'm like, that's kind of funny. The jury's like, this is boring, and it literally cuts to fucking Ozzy, just like, dude,
oh my God.
Like he's just like hands, and then Yule's like doing this, and I'm like, oh gosh. And they give him lighter fluid, I think, right? We're gonna give you a flamethrower. It's like, it doesn't go on, but eventually Becky figures it out.
Yeah. Well, Sundra runs out of matches too, so it's like, I don't even know what would have happened had Becky also done that. Like, maybe Jeff is just like, okay, Yule and Ozzy final two anyway.
And I think that moment, even though Becky did win it to go to the final three with them, I think that was also a very huge thing, a very huge event that showed the jury that she literally was like, I know, it made Yule and Ozzy look better, because it was like they could clearly start fires, right? And so it was like the perception that Yule was doing everything, I think, grew even more because of that against Becky, because it's like she did win it to get back in, but it took so long to do it. And they were like, I think, generally nice to her in the final three, but they're like, it looked like Yule did everything and you didn't do anything, kind of thing. It's like you let him do it all.
I think this definitely lost her more respect. If she had any like respect of like, if people really were ever considering voting for her, I think they lost that as soon as the fire making challenge happened. Yeah. I don't know if she was ever going to be in consideration though, because I do think like people like Adam were already saying like, I don't know what these two are doing, Sundra and Becky. And it's tough, because I do think like Becky is part of the decision making with Yule, so I don't think she's the worst finalist. We'll get to the rankings in a minute, but
it seemed like Yule was usually, I think, in a dynamic, it's like someone's the brain and someone's the muscle kind of thing. And then, but oddly enough, even though Yule and Becky were in an alliance, and Yule would say, oh, well, Becky was making a lot of decision and maybe she was the brain and I was the muscle, but it honestly kind of ended up being like Ozzy was the muscle and Yule was the brain of like, two separate things going on here. So that led to us, getting to our beautiful, beautiful finale for.
Yes. So the final three absolutely changes things. I wanted to touch on that myself. Like,
Yeah.
it's changed the entire game completely because I don't know what it was like at the time either because I didn't start watching the show at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, let us know in the comments what that was like because I'm actually curious what people's reaction to this was at the time. Because I'm sure it was a big bombshell that people were like, "Oh, this completely changes the game," and maybe some people didn't like how it changed the game. And I do think a final two generally is better because you're getting this person stacking up against this person, and generally the third person gets no votes. And so, I do generally think a final two is better, but I understand why a final three exists. So,
and this would be a moment too, like with them implementing the final three in the game. It's like after having a couple seasons of that, like, Cook Islands, Fiji, and China, and then going into, fans versus favorites. Now that you've had a couple seasons to watch final threes play out, people will start basing their gameplays around final threes. Right? Like, I mean, the whole thing which would eventually happen with Suri, and they thought they had it in the bag because they all thought that they were going to go to the final three together. And I think that mean like, no, we're going to go back to a final two because we can't let the players game the game kind of
well,
thing.
yeah, and that wasn't
Or maybe
Micronesia, but we'll get there when we get there to talk about that. But we Fallen Angels, let's do that real quick, and then we'll hit the final tribal. Fallen Angels, where they stand right now, the top 10 is Rob Cesternino, Kathy Vavrick O'Brien, Rudy Bosch, Lex Vandenberg, Terry Dietz, Ian Rosenberger, Johnny Fairplay, Rafe, Jenna Lewis, and Chef Keith Famey are the top 10. Sundra, for me, it's just, again, the perception. She just benefited, again, from, like, the Aitu Four being bonded together. And that's no disrespect towards Sundra. Again, I'm sure you're a very nice lady, Sundra. Would love to have you on the show. I think in terms of the gameplay and the edit, didn't really want to show her game. But I mean, she did have control. She had at one point, her and Rebecca were tight in the original Hiki. Like, she had have control over like the guys and like so I think Sundra deserves some respect because she really was partially in control, like Ozzy was or Ewell was. And
she was in a minority alliance at the Mutiny. So it was like, you four are all going to get voted out if you do not come together to win every single challenge to do it. And she was one of the four pieces to make that happen out of, Ewell, Ozzy, and Becky. And so the fact that she was a core piece in that, I mean, it wasn't like they lost and then she didn't do anything. Like, no, like she had to carry her, her literally and figuratively, she had to carry her torch to like make that four alliance. So she had to hold up her she had to carry her weight basically in that to even have a chance at making the merge and like flipping it around. And I'm sure that must have seemed like a tall task to do at the time. And those four were probably like, how the hell are we going to do this? And then they did it. They literally beat the odds together. And then, of course, when you get to the final four, then you have to start making decisions and stuff. But I mean, like she played to her strength to go as far as she could. And fourth is not a bad spot. I'm sure there are tons of people that wish they got fourth place.
Oh, 100%.
Playing Survivor.
Yeah, absolutely. I had Sundra 40th out of 48, though. Again, just most of her game, like it just wasn't. I didn't see because the edit didn't show us.
Yeah, the edit didn't show it.
So, she is going to end up as the 12th Fallen Angel. She is just above Jan Gentry from Thailand. So, is what it is. I think that's probably the most accurate place. Because I think Scout had a little more game than Sundra. And I don't know. I guess maybe like Keith is probably pretty accurate to Sundra's game because he was just kind of like part of Tina and Colby's numbers. So, but yeah. So that is where Sundra places. Let's get to Final Tribal with the first ever Final Three.
Okay.
So this is interesting.
It was a crazy tribal for the first time ever doing a final three.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, if this is the first time that the votes were like that close. Was this the first time that the votes were it was like it came down to like one vote?
So I know Colby and Tina,
So
Kelly Wigglesworth and Richard Hatch, Nalia and Vesepia, Clay and Brian Heidick. And then Amber and Boston Rob. And
yeah. This one felt more dominant though, where this one felt like more.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more at stake. Like here, it's like
it's
you could
it's
make
literally brains versus brawn. What is going to win out? What is the best quality in Survivor? So absolutely. I think this is definitely the closest that we've had so far, regardless of other one vote differences. I think it was truly, it was going to come down to what the jury members preferred as their style of gameplay.
Yeah, this definitely felt more of like a neck and neck kind of thing. And I think that's why it felt more neck and neck. And I just vividly remember seeing them, Ozzy and Yule, running through the surf, doing that challenge. It's like Ozzy comes out and he's like running and sprinting, like Ozzy's going for it. I'm like, there's no one here that can match this dude. And then I see Yule run out there and I'm like, that guy can. And then it just felt right seeing the two of them there in the finale. And it was a good time when I got to that part in the season.
Yeah. So I mean, Ozzy's pretty Ozzy is a great final tribal, honestly, for someone that you would think, because I mean, he holds his own against Yule. So, and Yule's like used to being like a politician and speaking and whatnot. So Ozzy does hold his own. Penner does critique their games. He does call Ozzy arrogant.
Kind of like a prince. Like kind of like I remember him saying that. I was like, oh, like you just made me jog my memory a little bit. I was like, yeah, he kind of calls like you kind of like walk around like you're like the prince of the heir apparent or something like that. And
I mean, I think it's more so age gap at the time, because I mean, Ozzy's the 24-year-old kid and Penner's like in his 40s, the dad, and so like again, I think it's just the generation gap and the age gap, and I think it's hard for Penner to like necessarily respect Ozzy walking around, thinking that he's the shit when I mean Ozzy is kind of the shit. And
he is like, it's like he is, but it's like you don't want to be reminded that like it's like like it's when someone like walks the walk and talks the talk, it's like it could be a potentially tough pill for certain players to swallow when someone can actually back it up. Kind of thing.
I mean, and really, I mean, Penner, again, Yule has done such a good job politicking, brought him his hat, and like also just like got him to flip. Like, I think Penner just has tremendous respect for Yule's game.
Yeah, and plus he also fulfilled Adam's promise, and and that whole and however Sundra felt going into that, who she felt more was pulling the strings, because it came down to because it was a 5-4 vote, and literally Sundra, Adam, Jonathan, Candice, and Brad all voted for Yule.
Okay, so Sundra actually voted Yule. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't clear on who like the last vote was. Okay, yeah. And Brad is close to Yule, I think, has been reported. And then I mean, I think Sundra just probably respected Yule's game the most. Okay.
Because more of the young people voted for Ozzy, like Parvati, Nate,
Candice,
Rebecca.
No, sorry, Candice voted Yule.
Yeah, Rebecca and Jenny voted for Ozzy. So you did mention an age gap, and I think that was very, very apparent this season that there was kind of an age gap. There was, certain players here that kind of respected more of like the intellectual, strategic part of the game, and other players that kind of respected more of just the all-out, guns blazing, like physical dominance, like how someone like Ozzy would play. Which it really did come down to like, what did you value more, physical strength or like being a strategical mastermind kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So and then Candice, you will almost flubs Candice's question though. I mean, it was like more of a joke kind of thing, but like. She's like, one word answer, and if you say more, you lose my vote. And Evil's like almost almost explains himself too much, and then stops himself. And then she's like, I have to think about that one. Mm-hmm. That was good. So let's get to our rankings here. Yule does win 5-4-0 over Ozzy and Becky. Losing finalists here. So our top 10 so far, it is Boston Rob, All Stars, Colby, Australia, Kelly Wigglesworth, Borneo, Stephanie LaGrossa, Guatemala, Malia Marquesas, Kim Johnson, Africa, Twyla Vanuatu, Lil, Pearl Islands, Danielle, Panama, and Matthew von Ertfelda, Amazon. So let's go let's go Ozzy first. Ozzy, I have 16th out of 81. I could put Ozzy higher, and I fully expect Ozzy to be really high, and I won't argue against it. I think when I'm splitting hairs between like my top 20 finalists, it's all about like gameplay. And Ozzy came incredibly close here. So I maybe have him a little too low here because he really was that close at this point, the closest that we've ever gotten. I just think I think it's like for me preferring like strategy most of the time. I like except in very rare cases. Like I think you will definitely deserved it a little more over Ozzy, but I do think Ozzy still played a very good, his best game in Cook Islands. But where do you have Ozzy?
So I actually had him at number 2 on the list. I had him very, very high. I think he was just at that time, like you said, splitting hairs, right? I'm like, this was a season that was just splitting hairs. Like it's either Ozzy or Yule. And I'm like, it was the first one that I remember. Like other seasons had close votes, but this one felt like a close vote. It wasn't like, this person did everything and they're just not voting for them because they're spiteful or whatever, and they're going to just throw votes over here. No, it was like you had people that were either going to vote for this person because they were the brain or this person because they were the brawn. And I think it just literally depended on what you valued at the time. And I personally, like you, valued more of the strategical aspect of the game too. But I thought Yule was physical as well. I mean, he obviously wasn't as physical as Ozzy. Right. Well, Ozzy was just kind of like 100% physical, and Yule was kind of a mixed bag of both. And I felt like if Ozzy wasn't going to win every challenge, I feel like Yule would probably come in there and win like the majority of them. That's the impression that I got. But when you're playing against someone like Ozzy, you have to run to keep up with him, kind of thing. Right. So I had him ranked like really, really high, and I kind of expect him to be ranked really high as a finalist for the overall list as well. So I had him at number 2.
Yeah, and that's very fair. And he is number 2 now. He was just under Boston Mob. And I fully expected that. I have no disrespect for Ozzy's game in Cook Islands. I expected it to be very high, and I probably have him too low if I looked at the list and I was splitting hairs and I was like, okay, I could probably move Ozzy up. Yeah. He probably should be in the top 10, to be honest. So, but yeah, I mean, Ozzy's a great player here. Yeah. So yeah, totally deserved it. And then Becky, I have her 52nd out of 81. Again, I don't think she was awful because she did have a close ally in Yule, and if Yule's correct, and they did make decisions together. I want to give her a little credit, but again, I just don't think she was ever beating the two titans of every facet of this game.
Yeah, I had her at like I think 61.
Okay.
It was just like, oh, okay. Well, now it's when what are you gonna do? You're going up against Ozzy and Yule. Like, what are you like? If you're not like some other third super beast in the history of Survivor, then what are you gonna do against, like you said, like calling them titans? That's a really good description of those two in this season. And you don't see it a lot too. That's why I like it. I like it when because in the normal world, players like that wouldn't make it to the end anymore. They don't. And so whenever I see like two like really strong players make it, I get like excited because it's like, oh, cool. Like they actually they willed themselves to the end, whether by being a challenge beast or using social politics to get there, kind of thing. Right. So it was really, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Becky is going to be just out of the top 10. She is number 11. She's just above Matthew Van Ertvelde, below Daniel DiLorenzo. So makes sense. So so getting knocked out. So the only one that got knocked out of the top 10 was Matthew. So
I love you, Matthew.
All right, so now let's get to our winner rankings and season rankings and the other two. So winner rankings, where they stand at the moment, it is Richard Hatch, Sundra 1.0, number 2, Tom Westman 3, Chris Doherty 4, Tina Wesson 5, Vesepia 6, Ethan 7, Brian Heidick, Mr. Freeze at 8, Danny Boatwright 9, and Jenna Maraska at 10, with Aris and Amber so far out of the top 10. So Where do you have Yule?
Where do I have? Oh, okay. I got my list now. I was like, I did rank him high. So my personal list, I had him at 4th.
Yeah.
I like Yule a lot. I think it was just, again, whenever I call a player out in the beginning of the season, I'm like, I really like that guy. I hope he win, or I like that gal. I hope they win. And they do it and they pull it out. I'm like, they're like that. They're that good. So I really like Yule a lot too.
Yeah, I also love Yule. He's 6th for me. So
Okay.
he is also very high, and like, I know Yule didn't get the best of luck in Winners at War. I think
He was this close. He was literally that close. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, like
I-
we'll get to that later. But I mean, he was
yeah,
with him getting his second go around. And before I even watched that season, I remember like, oh man, like people were talking a lot about him when that was coming out. I was like, what? He must be doing good, or he must be doing something. But I think he was definitely like he's considered like old school Survivor, and him being like that close. And I'm like, you could have kept him, but like you didn't. And I mean, his character does get fleshed out more in that season too, like because it's been years since he played at that point. But like again, for this current point in time, I thought he was awesome. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yule's amazing. He is the new number 1. So Yule, I think everybody just ranked Yule like really high. So.
I agree. I like it. Out of the 13 winners, I'm like, sure, throw him up there. Who was number 1 before?
Hatch.
Oh yeah, like get him out of there. I'll put Yule up there.
Yeah, Yule.
Yep.
Because his
Yule
name is now a
father.
meme. If you look on Reddit, everybody just likes saying Yule.
Yule. Yule.
I don't know why. Sometimes memes get very, very strange, but Yule's just that cool of a guy. So
He is.
maybe that's why. All right. So that knocks Jenna Maraska out of the top 10. So
damn.
All right. We'll get to chicken later, but damn.
Damn. Okay.
All right. Season rankings, where the top 10 stands right now. It is Pearl Islands number 1, Borneo 2, Australian Outback 3, Marquesas 4, Amazon 5, Africa 6, Vanuatu 7, Panama Exile Island at 8, All Stars 9, and Palau at 10. Where do you have Cook Islands?
I mean, this is probably not going to be like what I probably have it way too high. But I like just really liked it when I saw it. Like this again, Mr. Chronological over here. So it's like the 13th season I've ever watched, and it was the 13th season. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked the setting. I thought the cast was really cool. I mean, the theme was weird in the beginning, but they got over that like real quickly. And they introduced a lot of iconic characters that would come back multiple times in the series. I kept thinking that the seasons were getting better and better at this point. And it was just, I had a good time watching it. So on my personal list, I ranked it, it's in my top 10, and I ranked it at 5th. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I know that's probably not going to be the general consensus about it, but I liked it a lot.
I think people are pretty favorable of Cook Islands as a hint to where it's going to place possibly. But mine, I have it number 20. I think it's still a great season, good season. I think there's so many iconic moments. We've just talked about so many iconic characters. A quarter of the cast has come back.
Yeah.
There's a few more that I definitely would like to see back. Nate, Billy, Cowboy. I think definitely could see those people coming back. But I just feel like half the cast that they don't give the edit to, I just feel like leaves some to be desired. But again, diversity, awesome to have that on this season before the diversity initiative even took place. And they carried it over into Fiji at least. As much as we can say Fiji had problems, diversity, they ended up carrying that over. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, I like, again, I don't have anything like bad to say about Cook besides that. So
it falls into this golden age of Survivor. So I think it was just like, again, like post All-Stars was leading to something, and then we get to Guatemala, which is like the dark horse of the golden era. Panama, which is like, good in itself or whatever. Then you got this one, which is like really good, like wacky, but like really good as well. And it's in that time frame of like some of the best seasons ever to be produced by, Survivor.
Yeah, absolutely. And the consensus is that this season is really good. Cook Islands is the new number 3. It is above Australia, below Borneo. So
I told you, everyone. I knew this season had good vibe. It has aura. It's got aura.
It really does. I think it deserves placement. I can see why. And so I think people just remember a lot of these wacky characters. They remember Ozzy and Yule dominating. So nothing bad to say. I think this deserves its placement. So all right. Favorite male and female players. Male, I am going to go with Yule. I was between Yule, Ozzy, and Penner. I love all 3 of them. I think they all brought something to this season. Obviously, there's like the 3 other underrateds, Cowboy, Billy, and Nate. I think they're also there, but I think Yule, just for me, through the strategy and what he was able to pull off with his social politicking skills, like epic. And and also like an underrated funny line is when they're on the pole challenge and Yule's talking about like the circumference of the pole, and that's why elephants can't climb trees, and Jeff is like, oh, exactly what I was gonna say.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like that's like
that's mine. And then female, this was a little bit harder, but I'm gonna go with Parvati just because I know she's not really gonna shine until Micronesia starts, and then she really gets a chance to show what she's capable of.
Yeah,
I mean, especially heroes versus villains. But I'm looking at the female cast, and it's just like some of them don't really get much of an edit. Becky and Sundra don't get much. I mean, it's really Candice and Parvati really that I would think you first jump to is like the most memorable women on this season.
And then they're literally the only women that get brought back, right?
Yeah,
like the only 2. And so, I mean, I'll just say Yule for guys. Like that's obvious. I mean, we've hit that over the head so many times. He's one of the smartest guys to ever win, and I think his physical game was very underrated as well. And I think he was running with. I mean, granted, Ozzy's he's the number 1 physical challenge piece there, but like Yule was giving him like a run for his money, like every other time too. But I mean, again, Yule's social politicking was the key, and his idol use was the key to his success in the game. So he's my favorite guy. Gals was a little harder. I feel like picking Parvati or Candice is like the obvious choice, and I'm not picking Candice. Sorry. But Parvati, I just feel like that's like, I'm going to be different. I'm going to say Christina.
Ooh.
Because I remember liking her a lot when she was playing, and then she did get a raw deal. And then I think she actually did kind of get a story a little bit. She had a little bit of a pre-merge character story that they were talking about with her. And she was just getting, and she was, when I see certain players constantly get raw deals, and it was just like, one of those things. But I remember liking her a lot too. So
I think she had potential to, if she fit in a lot better. Like she and she still goes to Survivor events. Like she's still involved with the community. So come on the show, Christina. We'd love to hear from you. And that's a really interesting pick. I wonder what people are gonna think of that.
I mean, like, okay, it's like what? Like Parvati or Candice? It's like, I'm not doing that. I was like, I'm gonna go against the grain. All right. I'm like, I'm not gonna be a yes man here. All right, I can't. Especially when it's just you and me, Jake, doing this one. I was like, we gotta gotta spice it up a little bit. True.
All right. How did this season contribute to the evolution of Survivor, Jonathan?
Evolution. The OP nature of the super idol is that's there, man. It's like it came into effect during Panama, and it was like literally an unstoppable item in this season for one of the smartest players to ever play the game. It wasn't just like some like normal person found it. Like, no, Yule found it. Like the one person that you wouldn't want to find it ends up finding it and ends up using it correctly, like literally the whole game, and ends up winning the game because of it. Super Idol, obviously. And I think the other big thing would be just like the iconic characters that would make frequent appearances later, which, you know, like Yule, Ozzy, Parvati, Candice, Penner, like the whole game kind of thing. Those are the big ones.
Yeah, I do think, again, it contributes to the idol being changed next season to what we know and love.
And Final Three, sorry.
And Final Three, and as you said, the iconic characters. I do think it's going to set the stage much later for the diversity initiative, which I guess
that too.
50 forgot about for some reason. But I mean, so I don't know. Like, I like the fact, again, this is what 75% diversity. Like,
I think so,
because 3 tribes of non-white players. So it'd have to be 75% of the cast.
It'd have to be.
So,
and
so
with one of the winners being Asian American and Yule, like that was a big deal too. So
yeah, absolutely. First Asian winner, and that is huge for representation. And so I believe the only other one now being it's Erica and Natalie Anderson.
Oh yeah.
So yes, so it's those. I believe it's those 3.
Yes.
So huge for that purpose. And so I think Cook Islands, again, deserves its flowers there.
It does.
All right. Well, that's the beginning of a lot of Survivor legacies. And I guess we're going to Fiji for the first time in Survivor history.
I guess we're getting on this boat from Cook Islands and we're just sailing right across the river.
Fiji, the river,
We're going right across the pond over to Fiji, and this boat doesn't stop.
Yeah, so Jonathan, you'll be back with us next week. We'll have Shane and Coach Drew, and we'll get to talk about the legend of Yowman, because Yowman's here, and so is Earl Cole and Dreams, and I think those Rocky, oh God. Rocky and Lisi are going to be like, if we were still doing the least favorite, like, no offense to both of you, but
love you both. Come on the show.
Yes, come on the show. But no, but I think like those 3 in particular that I did mention, I think are hugely important in Survivor history that don't get enough love. I think Fiji is not as bad as everybody says. I do think production has a lot of issues next season that we will address. Also, the fact that a storyline got cut out of the edit that could explain why the game went a certain way. So we will explain that. And of course, like the first season, only season to start with an odd number of people with 19, and that's because one of them quit right away. And we'll get into that next week.
I do remember that. Oh, crap.
Yes. So we will get to that next week, and we'll explain what happened behind the scenes and everything with this season. I also want to say I like Anthony as well, so I'm excited to talk about him because I think he got a very raw deal in Survivor. We will get to talk about all of that with Yowman and everybody else, and can't wait to do that. And so we'll see you guys next time for more Survivor 1 through 50 on the Tribe of Nerds.